What is up? I have the Mustang up on jack stands because I'm going to start taking my turbocharger and all the mods off of it. I haven't been really driving the car that much. I only drive it like up the street. Been kind of running about 13 psi. I don't even have the wastegate on it. That's pretty much where it maxes out. But it's like one of these days my luck's going to run out. I'm probably going to get a ticket, you know, which is if you're going sideways at 50 miles an hour, cops might tend to notice that. There's just no traction. And just like a month ago, I just ran it through emissions to get the tags for next to yours. Right here, I welded on this little spot and had a nipple here. This is just heater hose, which started to rot within, you know, miles of hot gases going through it. But I didn't want to spend like $100 on a silicone hose to hook up the EGR just for that. So yeah, so it passed emissions with the turbo on there. So this setup definitely worked better than my first setup, having it moved over here and the downpipe going right next to the right over the top of the stock engine manifold. The engine manifolds, of course, discharging to the front. Driver one crossing over here to bring it over to the turbo. Exhaust came off the engine and went forward, and then the downpipe choked down to like 2 1/4 inch, if it was even that big down there. And then it dropped just along the side of the engine, and then it dropped down, and then it went back into the large exhaust again. So it still made 13 psi like that. So all this stuff, basically, if you go on like Mustang forums or something, they're going to tell you that this stuff can't be done. Basically, they told me years ago, you can't even put a turbo on without doing the K-member kit, you know, the tubular K-member. I guess they're not used to people that are beyond bolt-on that actually can use tools and fabricate. So of course right now, see, I had no clearance issues. I mean, it's jacked up, but the exhaust is tucked up in there. There's the catalytic converter right there. It says MagnaFlow. That means the catalytic converter's there, right? So yeah, so my one downpipe went right there, right out the one stock location. My singles split back into the duals, into the exhaust that I already had. And then pretty much nothing comes out the driver's side because the exhaust comes out to the front right there. So I have new AC compressor. I had the AC all hooked up and working too. The intercooler, I gotta take that out. The car is pretty, you know, it's got a lot of surface rust under here because it came from Idaho. That's why I got it so cheap. So about 170, 180,000 miles on an engine that's never been apart, and I turbocharged it, and it didn't blow up. Even though I had some pretty good serious detonation going on a few times. So, ring lands must be pretty tough on these stock pistons. Old 2-valve non-PI heads. Yeah, that's another thing they said. You won't get into the 400 horsepower without changing the heads. I'm like, bullshit. Forced induction is easily going to get any V8 over 400 horsepower. These guys are just, sometimes people get on forums, and I'm talking about the Mustang forums, and they just spew stuff like you have to do everything this way or that way because that's just what somebody said you had to do, and they just all think you need to follow. So, yeah, it's not even that big of a turbo. It basically peaked out its power between 3,000 and 4,000 RPMs, made its probably peak torque, and then as you climbed RPMs, the boost. Didn't pay too much attention to it, but you know, I think it came back down a little bit because the turbo's, you know, not that large. Kind of like what you get with the EcoBoost engines. Turbos are small for low end power, and then you the top end, you know, isn't all that killer. But they're built for drivability, so this didn't hardly have any lag. I'll miss the project a little bit, but I hardly ever drove it. And I have 2 other vehicles with turbos on them anyway, and my daughter basically just pay for the parts since I'm gonna give the car to her to drive. So I got the stock manifolds down there, EGR piping there, so I will hook that back up so it'll be all emission compliant. So this was pretty stealth. I didn't cut a bunch of plastic out on the front and make the intercooler like known, but I did make a lot of cuts inside. This is how this used to go, and there was the bumper actually went straight across right here and blocked all that. And then the air went behind the bumper, the metal part, up, you know, to the condenser and to the radiator. But when I put this 3-inch intercooler in here, it butted up flush with that bumper, as you can see right here. So I opened all that up in there. So It's a lot less bumper in there now though, so I might have to go get another one from a junkyard if we want to put the bumper back. Yeah, see, the bumper is hacked open quite a bit. It still had this, and what I figured when I made this decision was that with all this 3 inches of aluminum intercooler there, that was adding mass to the front for the impact to kind of transfer through that, so wasn't that worried about it. But taking all that out, it's gonna leave like nothing for the bumper. I forgot I cut the crap out of that thing, man. That's custom. Took the middle foam piece out, so we'll probably have to visit the salvage yard up the road and get another bumper. There's where I hid the blow-off valve. Wasn't up here, wasn't where anybody could see it. It was down there. It was just some cheap blow-off valve from eBay for probably like 40 bucks where it was. And it was loud. There is the turbo off of the car. Still in good condition. Bearing play feels real nice. It's only a T3 flange. They said it was capable of up to 500 horsepower, so probably in the 400s. Okay, the exhaust underneath. The duals that go to the back to the Flowmasters. I made this, man. I was proud of this. Just beat this shit together and welded it up. Made this nice single to dual adapter here. A 3-inch inlet, which it used to be with 3-inch downpipe. But the last time I moved the turbo, I actually have the pipe choked down about 2-inch to get by the side of the engine. You come down here before it steps back up to 3-inch, and then the huge duals going out. So just to the naysayers, this thing was making 13 psi boost with this little choked down exhaust up in here. Single exhaust from a single turbo coming down there next to the I got that stock manifold in there blowing forward. And then I made my own flange right there. That's actually the downpipe flange. The stock manifold blows forward. Show what I had there, see? This is my downpipe 3-inch, and it chokes down to 2-inch to get to run along up on top of the stock manifold, which I have spun around, discharging out the front here. These flanges, I took them off like a Hyundai's or something out of the junkyard because these ball and socket style flanges actually can hold the pressure. I was using like header gaskets, they suck. And likewise over here, here's the driver's side one, same thing, that manifold. And actually the manifold over there is the manifold from this side. I just switched them around and then cut them and put new flanges on them. And then this was my primary piping, going from the driver's side over passenger side, and went to the T3 flange right there. I don't know how much exact horsepower the car was making, but the 245, 45, 17 tires would break loose from a 30-35 mile an hour roll in second gear, so that probably takes over 400 horsepower to go like that. Pretty much roasted the tires without mercy. It lives. Just charged up the Mustang. Watch electric band cycle. There it goes. Electric band pulls some current. At idle, that's pretty good. It'll drop down when the RPMs are brought up. Hey, this Mustang has been returned to stock, sort of. It was kind of hard to find all the stock air ducting and air filter box at junkyards. The GTs, it's not that common in the junkyard. So I just got a stock intake tube and just kind of got a slot style mass airflow sensor housing plastic off of some junkyard car, and then I just got an elbow going to that big ass air filter, that big ass like honeycomb, whatever it is, air filter that's in there. Got the AC all charged up. It's weird. We're just test driving the car. It's weird driving it with no turbo. Oh, that was a little miss. Still trying to tune out the mass airflow sensor on its own since there's no quarter horse tuner. Took the wideband out. No counter converter still, so it's kind of loud. It's kind of louder than ever because the turbo made the exhaust a little quieter, but now it's just got the big Flowmaster 40s, no cats, no turbo. That's weird, not hearing it just boost and tear the tires up the red line. Yeah, not hearing the glow about me. I think the computer's still got to learn a little bit. Yeah, this car is dirty. I just want to hear it. It's not slow, that's almost 60, but it's stock. I think it's running pretty much all it has. I think it's running normal. I think it just needs to adjust its fuel trims a little bit, and it's gonna be okay.
This is scary, though.
E-brake.
Oh.
How do you stall a V8? Start it.
Because your stick shift's so different from mine. Why is your clutch so hard?
Just, it isn't.
I'm scared to install it.
You don't have to put that much gas. It's a V8. It's not a Cavalier engine. Dang! Ah! It's smooth when I drive it.
It's so scary. Is there a way
to put it in four. Oh, you're going this way.
Yeah, is there a way to
Garnish,
loosen
put it
the
second.
clutch?
No, that's how stiff it is.
You can't loosen it?
No, that's how stiff it is. And that's a stock clutch. It's not even...
My clutch is like butter.
Yeah, because you have a little tiny one that's probably like 8 inches in diameter or something. And this is not even a racing one. You wouldn't even be able to probably do that one. This is a stock one.
I'm going to learn how to use this one.
Complete stops, that way you can test the clutch. That's all I do is just barely hit it so you hear it,
give it
and then let off, and then let off the clutch.
Does yours have a gauge? Because mine doesn't have one. Oh, you do have one. RPM gauge? I didn't have one in my Cavalier. I'd have to guess.
See, it's an easy clutch.
Now I'm learning how to do it. It's so funny how... At least I'm not burning the clutch. What do you do when you turn? You pop it in neutral or you just ride the clutch?
Why even putting it in to turn? Just leave it in gear.
I always push the clutch in when I turn.
Why?
Just how I learned.
Leave the car in gear unless you need to take it out.